Good morning, another new day, another new way of looking at life and looking at even bigger headlines. This is the Morning Cafe. Karibu sana. A chilly morning here in Nairobi, but quite warm in most parts of the country. Karibu sana. My name is Freddie Ndimuli.
My name is Ann Odida. Karibu sana.
98 days to the end of the year, 93 days to Christmas. Tulisema hatusimami, tutahesabu hadi tamati. Take a look at the big headlines today. The Daily Nation, a nation in crisis. That's a big discussion there.
The Standard playing Ruto.
Na alama za duk. How Raila is plotting for 2027 top race, something similar to what we see on the Standard.
Taifa Leo, Uhuru kupanga washirika.
Na siasa zazidi kunoga, tutaendelea kuangazia maswala ya siasa leo. Yes, emerging power brokers pushing Kenya's old guard, and you see very young faces on the front page of the People Daily.
Finally, Business Daily, Treasury's debt spending on salaries, wages hit 451 billion shillings.
All right, for discussing the headlines today on State of the Nation, we'll be having MPs former MP Nyeri Town, Ngunjiri Wambugu, Joseph Kamau Munyoro, who's the MP Kigumo constituency, that's in Murang'a, and Professor Fred Ogola, who's a leadership and economics expert, governance and economics expert. They'll be here at 6:30. Do stand by for that. After that, we'll be switching gears.
We'll be talking about land ownership rights with John Mwaura Kogi and Silas Akiro, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya.
That comes your way at 8 a.m. Half an hour later, we'll be talking about something different in honor of the stars. John Benson will be in studio alongside the managing director and founder of Star Brands Awards. So do stand by for these conversations and more coming your way only on Morning Cafe. All right, tuzunguke kanda ya mashariki wa Afrika, tuangazie masuala ya siasa kule Uganda. The Daily Monitor, and this is the big headline, running man. You know why they're calling him the running man? Now, every time he comes to a political event, anakuja vizuri, anashuka gari pole pole, anatembea hivi. Akifika karibu tu na podium, anatoka mbio. Nani? Yoweri Museveni. Another lap. Mr. Yoweri Museveni of the NRM party yesterday kicked off his unbroken 7th marathon lap for the 5-year elective term in office ahead of a field of 5 contestants so far cleared, hoping to bring his dominance in the field to 45 years by the end of 2031. He said that this will be the very last time he's running for president. Yes. This story has been covered on pages 2, 3, 4, and 5. The fact that President Museveni has been cleared to vie for another term. Yes. He came into power in 1986. 10 years later, he got 4.4 million votes in 96. In 2001, he got 5.1 million votes. In 2006, 5 years later, the votes dropped to 4.1 million because Besigye alikuwa amekuja sana. And in all this, ni Besigye, only 96 ndo kulikuwa na mtu mwingine. 2011, Museveni got 5.4. Besigye got 2 million. 2016, Museveni got 5.9. Besigye got 3.5 million. 2021, Museveni got 6.04. Bobi Wine came second with 3.6 million. What will happen this time round? Remember, the elections in Uganda are coming up on January next year. In January next year. So Asema, in 2026, Mr. Museveni, who has been in power since 1986, this will be exactly 40 years later, is running for the 7th elective 5-year term in office in a bid to extend his rule to 45 years. Running man, they call him.
Still in Uganda, New Vision, Museveni cleared, consolidating Uganda's economic gains and ensuring inclusive development. Same story kama Daily Monitor for the 5th time and the last time, according to Museveni. Another story making headline here on the front page of the New Vision. They only make mention of Makerere appointing new deputy vice chancellor. That's the New Vision. Hawana mambo mingi leo.
Leo kuna mambo mengi kule. Museveni amepata tiketi ya kuvai for presidency. All right, cross over to Tanzania, tuone wanashughulikia masuala gani leo. And gazeti la The Citizen, how to speed up SMEs cashless changeover. Remember, Tanzania is embarking on this transition to cashless economy. Tanzania has made remarkable progress in its journey towards a cashless economy, but experts note that small and medium enterprises, which account for over 90% of businesses in the country, are struggling to adapt. Wataka kutumia kadi ama pesa za mobile. A 2024 Financial Sector Deepening Trust report shows that 68% of SMEs in Tanzania still rely on manual record keeping and only 27% use formal digital payment systems. So that's the main story there on the front page of the Citizen. You can read more on it on page 2 of this paper. Tuangazie sasa masuala ya siasa. Tuanze hapa chini. Samia 6 votes in Mtwara with pledges on water and agriculture. Kwingineko, hati karibu for Tanzania's first world champion Simbu. Huyu ni ule jamaa alishinda marathon at the World Athletics Championships, the men's marathon. It was Simbu. He's the only Tanzanian who got a medal. Yeah.
Our champs were also back yesterday.
All right, we'll be back to tuone kama tumeweka kwa front page. At least huyu Simbu alipata gold na meko kwa front page. Long distance runner Alphonse Simbu greeting admirers after arriving in Dar es Salaam yesterday from Tokyo, where he won the men's marathon gold medal at the 2025 World Athletics Championships, and the story is on the back page of this paper. More political stories there on the top strip. Why 9 parties have yet to launch Zanzibar election campaigns. Remember, we're counting down to October 29th. Yeah, sasa tumebakisha mwezi mmoja na siku 6 hadi election day. That's the Citizen in Tanzania.
Gazeti la Mwananchi ni kilio cha ukata, kampeni za shika kasi, vyama halitete. Vyama 9 Zanzibar vya suasua kuzindua kampeni zake. Ukata watajwa, wagombea urais wafunguka. Nakumbuka vile si usema watu wa pwani hawana haraka. Hao Zanzibar hawana haraka. Kujikokota tu. It's a month to elections hata hawajaanza kampeni. Sasa usiwe na haraka. Kampeni zaja tutazungumzia baadaye. Island Nation. All right, other stories here yaliyosemwa. Askofu Munga akiagwa, mkuu wa kanisa la Kiinjili la Kilutheri Tanzania, Askofu Daktari Alex Malasusa akiongoza ibada ya kumwombea askofu mstaafu Daktari Stephen Munga, ilifanyika jana katika ushirika wa Kunduchi kule Dar es Salaam. Matumaini taifa huru la Palestina ndani Uhuru wa Mataifa, United Nations, Umoja wa Mataifa. Umoja wa Mataifa, all right. Mawakili wa serikali na wanasheria Tanganyika watoleana uvivu. Habari nyingine hapo kule juu, Samia atoa kauli bei ya mbaazi na korosho Mtwara. Mgombea wa rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania kupitia Chama cha Mapinduzi CCM Samia Suluhu Hassan amesema endapo atashika hatamu serikali itahakikisha bei za mazao zinapungua. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 6 gazeti la Mwananchi. Right, so these are the regional dailies. We'll be back to take a look at the local ones in a short while. Tujue Kenya tunazungumzia nini haswa. Lakini kwa sasa, let's take a look at the weather forecast tuone kama ile joto bado inaendelea. Leo Nairobi kuna kijibaridi cha asubuhi sana. Yes. Indiani, we start off at the south coast, 23 degrees Celsius, feels like 25. It is a partly cloudy day, a bit of precipitation most part of the day, highs of 27 degrees, which is warming up. Next week, actually at the weekend, it will get to 28 degrees. So it's generally, that trend of warming up continues, 1.4 millimeters of precipitation at the coast. Areas around Mount Kenya region. 14 degrees in Murang'a this morning, feels like it. It's a cloudy day. Highs of 26 degrees. Precipitation in Murang'a today is 0 millimeters. Yes, in Murang'a it also promises to get hotter as the week progresses, maxing at 28 degrees on Sunday. That will be a proper hot day. Yeah, na next week. Kwa hivyo usiati mungoje baridi na kuja anytime soon. It continues to warm up. Let's see if the trend continues. Up north in Turkana, 26 degrees as we speak. Also promises to be a cloudy day. Highs of 34 degrees, which is among the highest we've seen. The weekend will actually be even hotter on Saturday at 37 degrees Celsius. Huku to expect any rainfall, hata tuache kujidanganya. It is a very hot day in Turkana. Promises to get hotter as we proceed on with the week. All right, weather in Eldoret, it's 12 degrees as we speak. It's a cloudy day as well, like it will rain heavily in Eldoret. Highs of 23 degrees. Precipitation here, 2.6 millimeters. Yeah, and I think Eldoret is probably the chilliest we've seen so far. So kama utaki joto, pana gari and Eldoret, because if you look at Homa Bay, hapa si mali unaenda kutafuta baridi. It is 19 degrees as we speak right now in Homa Bay. Feels like 25. Partly cloudy day, highs of 28 degrees, and I'm telling you 26 in Homa Bay is burning. So 28, Mutaitana. And that will persist throughout this week and into next week, probably starting to cool off on Monday, but bado ina fluctuate. Hata kiteremka kidogo 27 inarudi 28. So warm
temperatures, rainfall expected later this week. Leo ni kama hakuna mvua, 0.7 millimeters there. Finally, Nairobi.
Weather in Nairobi, it's very cold, 12 degrees this morning. It's a mostly cloudy day, highs of 26 degrees. Precipitation in Nairobi is 0.0 millimeters, no chances of rain. And this will persist throughout the week, 26 degrees. Next week, 27.
All right, so that's the weather situation. At exactly 10 minutes past 6, let's take a look at the traffic situation this Wednesday around Nairobi. The major tributaries into town are not looking bad this morning. But you can see most of them, the 4 major tributaries, that's Waiyaki Way, Thika Road, Kiambu Road, and Mombasa Road, all into the CBD looking good. But this is a problem. You can actually see at this time of day, haikuangi imeshika hapa sana. This is the Pangani interchange where those coming from Kiambu Road and Thika Road meet there. A bit of a bottleneck there, but you can see the red is stretching as far back as almost the Utalii Drift. Imefika pale Mathare Mental Hospital, meaning that this could actually create a problem for those coming from Thika Road and by extension, those coming from Kiambu Road as well. It's stretching into that tunnel so that you can probably use Forest Road or Muranga Road. But this is a problem there. But nile shida ya kawaida tumezoea, nothing out of the ordinary. Other areas that are usually problematic, Jogoo Road, nothing out of the ordinary. Ibarabara inaitwaga aje ile
Kangundo?
Kangundo Road is also looking good. Haile Selassie Avenue building up slowly this morning. Machakos bus station, meanwhile, is green on both sides of Landis Road. And that's just it. Not much traffic this morning out of the ordinary, except for that section at the Pangani interchange. And probably we'll be back to take a look at this at 1:30 to see kama itakuwa imefunguka, sababu hiyo itakuwa shida. Exactly 12 minutes past 6.
All right, let's have the quote of the day.
At the heart of everything we do lies a simple truth. Our greatest goal is the pursuit of genuine happiness, peace, and inner contentment each day.
Very little politics on the front page of the Daily Nation today. They talk about a nation in crisis, major sectors, education, healthcare, public system in turmoil, with the government struggling to quell unrest, and they call it an emergency. So they talk about health. Private hospitals have turned away patients unable to pay cash after cutting credit to SHA, citing past deaths. Tutors and police face denial of services as well. On matters education, learning in public universities has been paralyzed after lecturers went on strike to demand 8 billion shillings salary arrears, and schools in a cash crunch. Many are yet to receive capitation for learners. Meanwhile, counties, thousands of employees are going without salaries, with the devolved units blaming the Treasury for delays in release of funds. The story is on pages 2 and 3, and it paints a picture of a limping nation. If at all, we cannot take care of the devolved units, we cannot take care of health, we cannot take care of education, then what are we taking care of? Na tumeambiwa tupatie polisi pesa ya fuel. Hii nafikiri wafunge milango, kila mtu ashuke tutende. Kila mtu aende huko. So families have been stranded in hospitals as hospitals reject SHA cover. Meanwhile, National Treasury blamed as county staff go for months without salaries. Students are suffering as lecturers strike and funding is delayed. So those are the big stories. But kuna ile lazima tu kukuwe na scandal mahali. Queries on how tycoons bagged 15 billion shillings rice import deal. Telling you, in Kenya sometimes unaangalia headlines unasikia tu wah. And as far as politics is concerned, very little on the front page, but I'll make mention of it. Ruto calls for community-led healthcare, hiyo ni nyingine. Jubilee prepares for Matiangi takeover and is eyeing a Ruto showdown. We'll be having the former MP for Nyeri Town, who's a member of Jubilee Party, atatueleza zaidi. Gachagwa's party rocked as Banisa candidate pulls out of by-election. Wali nominate candidate alafu akamwona State House akisalamia Mzee. Na hivyo ndio walitokwa na huyo candidate, I tell you. So back to the front page, other highlights. Queries, hiyo tumesoma. Grand reception for Kenya's athletics champions, at least it happened. Lilian Odira, who bagged the gold in the 800 meters race, is lifted as she arrives during the reception ceremony at the JKIA yesterday. Also in set, we have Beatrice Jebet, who won gold in both the women's 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters. She's just there displaying her medals. Alafu wa wanaiuma hivi, kuonyesha ni ukweli. Hii sio hivi hivi. Pale juu, the only political story on the front page of the Daily Nation today is a highlight on what Matiangi is doing with Jubilee. Apparently he's in talks with the Uhuru Party leaders. Former Interior CS Fred Matiangi met Jubilee officials yesterday ahead of the party's special national delegates meeting scheduled for Friday this week. Meanwhile, ile story ya Endarasha, mahali kulikuwa na moto. Families are now suing the state and the school of a fire that killed 21 boys in Nyeri. The number of affected families is 10 that have signed the petition. And that story is on page 10. Tukienda back page, of course, they're sharing more photos on welcoming home our champions from their heroic visit to Tokyo last month. No, is it last month or this month? From the World Athletics Championships. So that and those are the main stories on the Daily Nation today. From the Daily Nation, tuingilie masuala ya siasa sasa.
Playing Ruto. Flip-flopping, Raila Odinga's shifting signals have thrown ODM into turmoil, leaving allies baffled, opponents wary, and supporters unsure whether the party stands with government or opposition. While defending President Ruto's policies on one hand and hinting at a 2027 ODM presidential bid on the other, the enigma of Kenyan politics has unleashed confusion that threatens to fracture his party and cloud the nation's political horizon. Na amewekwa hapo nyuma ya the president akicheka sana.
Yule mwenye alichagua hii picha anachoma.
Ni kama anajaribu kusema anachekwa. According to Jeanette Mohammed, all political relationships have a lifespan of 5 years. You either renew at the next election or you move on. He has also confirmed that we are family in the broad-based arrangements until 2027. And he is the one who was saying anything about the party, refer to Baba.
Refer to Raila.
James Gakuya, Raila's door to join the opposition has been closed. He dented himself. He can't always be using others.
Unajua alisema hii akiwa wapi?
Here.
Hapa, TV47.
And Odinga is quoted there saying, and I quote, stand for what is right for the party and look at what you have signed and remain as an ardent member. We have signed that we will work together up to 2027. But have not passed any resolution as a party to say how we are going into the elections of 2027.
Yes, so he may be causing confusion, but at least there's clarity here. He's saying, yes, we've signed a document until 2027. So unless we sign another one for 2027, musiseme tumesign, hatuja sign bado. This one could just be upping his stakes for a better power sharing deal ahead of 2027.
Contract in Asia 5
contract
years' time.
will expire.
Yes. That is the only story on the front page of the Standard, but other stories here. SHA officials pause as patients in bid to silence protesting hospitals. Healthcare providers say SHA officials are disguising themselves as patients to spy on hospitals instead of paying claims. The government is accused of launching a coordinated campaign of fear. All right.
There's this story on page 3. There's a 50-year-old man who has sued his mother and a man that he claims to be his biological father in a fresh bid to seek his recognition. In his new case, he says that his identity on the birth certificate does not reflect his true roots. Anataka kuwa identified in a certain way. Hii kwa birth certificate ni kama si ukweli.
All right.
He's 50 years old.
Family seeks clarity on officer's death in Haiti. And President Ruto used the Unga platform to announce the death of 3 officers yesterday. Benedict Kabiru's mother said they were shocked to hear the president's remarks in US. And Benedict Kabiru was mentioned. They have no any information about the whereabouts of their son, Benedict.
Sasa nikurudishe page 3. Kuna hadithi pale chini ya kotini. The High Court has allowed the DPP to drop a 112 million shilling fraud case charges against 2 businessmen. Nataka tu usikize hapa kidogo alafu tutaenda na tutauliza maswali mengi. The High Court has overturned a ruling that blocked the director, the DPP, from dropping criminal charges against 2 businessmen. Justice Alexander Muasia Muteti overruled the magistrate's decision over the application to hold proceedings against Jayesh Javda and Tribovan Javda, directors of TRV Towers. Na nimemalizia hapo. Tuendelee.
All right, on the back page of the Standard, Dembele and Bonmati are world's best. Dembele edged out Barcelona sensation Yamal to succeed Man City midfielder Rodri. And Spain's Aitana Bonmati claimed the women's prize for the 3rd year in a row. And he said, I really don't have the words. It was an incredible season with the PSG. All right.
Na pia on pages 30 and 31, they've shared a lot of photos of our heroes and heroines from Tokyo, Japan, as they were welcomed at the JKIA yesterday. Yes. All right, from the Standard, more politics on the front page of the Star, how Raila is plotting for 2027 top race. You realize now, tukitoka hapa kwa hii nation in crisis, tunaingia siasa. Playing Ruto, Raila, backing UDA without power sharing deal could hurt ODM. And yes, that's the same thing. Anasema ile deal tuko nayo ni hadi 2027 unless the contract is renewed. Tusidanganyane, hakuna contract anywhere. So that's the story on pages 4 and 5 of the Star. Other quick highlights here. Kenya-US back gang suppression force in Haiti, and the President William Ruto, has been very vocal about the situation in Haiti as he attends the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Jana nasikia Trump alienda hapo akawaambia, kweli tu niwaambie, historia climate change is the biggest con. Napenda tu vile Trump anakuanga tu, yani ajali tu. Yuko tu. And the highlights on the front page of the Star, how IPOA plans to deal with human rights abuse by cops, and farmer grabs 2,000 acres of Egerton University land. Details have emerged of a mystery farmer who holds about 2,000 acres of Egerton University land for maize production. An audit established that the beneficial owner is not known and the value is not disclosed, creating ambiguity. 2,000 acres. The report has flagged multiple public universities sitting on billions of shillings worth of land and assets with no proof of ownership. Unajua hata kuna Moi University, kuna 3,000 acres yao ilichukuliwa na jamaa fulani anajulikana, lakini wapendi kumtaja jina. Na ikaenda tu hivyo. Sasa kuna 2,000 acres of land ya Egerton University. Kuna jamaa anapanda mahindi kweli pale, na wasemi ni nani. Hata sisi hatuwezi sema ni nani. Unajua ni nani?
Hata sijui hiyo story.
Hata University of Nairobi has a lot of land. Kidogo kidogo utasikia mtu amepanda kahawa na hatutajua ni nani na hata semekana ni nani. Back on the front page of the Star pale juu, Frederick Okango anazungumzia ODM at 20, and he was a director of I think elections or something at KANU. Then he resigned.
He resigned yesterday.
Akapost your resignation kila mahali so he resigned toka KANU sio kwetu. ODM at 20, legacy of sacrifice and unwavering fight for justice. Does he intend to join ODM? Mbona anasifu ODM na hata jamaliza, hata resignation haijakubaliwa bado. CS Miano hapa anasema Kenyans to enjoy free entry into parks on Saturday. This is something interesting as we head towards the Christmas and the holiday season. On Saturdays utakuwa unaingia park tu fwa. All right, this is a Star, fresh, independent, different. If you have 60 shillings, ya leo sio bure, 60 bob. Una grab yourself a copy of this paper.
Tukisonga mbele, Taifa Leo, Uhuru kupanga washirika, andaa mkutano mkuu wa wajumbe Ijumaa, ambapo nduru zasema huenda viongozi wapya wakateuliwa. Kuna kila ishara kwamba huenda Rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta akamtwika aliyekuwa waziri wa usalama wa ndani Daktari Fred Matiangi jukumu la kuongoza chama cha Jubilee na hatimaye kupeperusha bendera ya chama hicho katika kura ya urais wa mwaka 2027. Jana Daktari Matiangi alihudhuria kikao cha mashauriano na baadhi ya viongozi wa Jubilee kilichofanyika katika Safari Park Hotel hapa Nairobi, na mkutano maalum wa kitaifa wa wajumbe utafanyika Ijumaa ijayo. Other stories here, wagonjwa waendesha county sehemu kuu ya pato la serikali za county hutokana na ada za hospitali. Sasa haramu kupiga picha katika KPA. Hii ni baada ya video ya ndege ya kijeshi ya Amerika ikitua KPA kusambaa mtandaoni. Mali, Niger zajiondoa katika ICC. Mataifa hayo mawili yanaongozwa na jeshi ukanda wa Afrika Magharibi, na kule juu karibu nyumbani mashujaa mabingwa waliotetemesha dunia kwa kushikilia nafasi ya pili nyuma ya Amerika katika riadha za dunia zilizomalizika juzi Tokyo, Japan, walitua nchini jana na kulakiwa kishujaa.
Vile inafaa.
Taifa Leo.
All right. From Taifa Leo tuzungumzie siasa zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa People Daily. Nasema Kings of the Regions, emerging power brokers pushing Kenya's old guard, and they've listed them there on the front pages. Very young people, okay, relatively young, sio Gen Z, lakini akina George Natembea, ule gavana wa Trans Nzoia, Ndindi Nyoro, Kiharu MP, Mohamed Ali, Nyali MP, Aaron Cheruiyot, Kericho Senator, who's also the majority leader in the Senate, Simba Arati, Deputy Leader ODM, huyo ni Kisii Governor, Babu Owino hapa Nairobi, kule Embakasi East anatetemesha kweli, na ule anasema mimi ndio Sifuna, Edwin Sifuna, katibu mkuu wa chama cha ODM. Na Gathoni wa Mushomba, Githunguri MP, hao wanasemekana ni Kings of the Regions, emerging power brokers pushing Kenya's old guards. You can read that story on page 4 of this paper. Why President Ruto could be isolated ahead of 2027 polls is another story on page 6 of this paper, and it talks about how powerful the president has become, and with power it pushes away so many people and you end up being very isolated. Unakaa tu na nguvu zako nyingi. Peke yako. Unakaa hivi wewe na nguvu, unakaa hivi, can you imagine una feel tu nguvu hivi, umekaa kwa kitu unasikia ngumu. Nguvu lakini hakuna mtu karibu. Hata mtu akupiga ngumi hakuna. The politics on the front page of the People Daily.
Finally, Business Daily, Treasury's debt spending on salaries and wages hits 451 billion shillings, and the share of the government's borrowed fund rising funds for development projects has fallen to the lowest level in more than a decade, exposing increased reliance on debt to fund recurrent spending such as salaries and wages amid shortfalls in tax collection. Now, Treasury data shows that government spent 582.9 billion shillings on development projects in the fiscal year to June 2025. That is equivalent to 56.4% of the net borrowing of 1.3 trillion from domestic and external lenders in the period. This story is on page 2 of the Business Daily. Other stories here. Billionaire Kibunga Kimani takes 11% stake in Centum. On the ticker, private sector credit up a fourfold in June on reduced rates. Keroche now lodges 10 billion shillings claims against former MD Shoile. And DSTV's active customers plunge 84% in a year. That's the Business Daily.
All right. A reminder that we'll be having these three gentlemen in studio to discuss the big headlines, mostly political. Ngujiri Wambugu is a former MP Nyeri Town, Joseph Kamau Munyoro, the MP Kigumo constituency, and Professor Fred Ogola, who's an expert in economics and governance issues. In a few minutes' time.
All right.
Later on the show,
land ownership rights. We'll be having this conversation with John Morakogi, CEO of Finsco Africa, as well as Silas Akiro, an advocate of the High Court.
All right, and even after that, we'll be honoring the stars. John Benson, Managing Director, founder of Star Brands Awards, will be in studio at 8:30 this morning. We might have an opportunity to take a look at the traffic situation, tuone kama kuna update, but before that, let's see what the cartoonists are talking about. And we start with the cartoon on the Star, and this will give us an indication of what the biggest discussion is. The cartoon on the Star has a caricature of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga on top of a pole. Iko na arrow ya 2027 na amefungua miguu na point different directions. Watu wanamwangalia kila huko na wamejaza machungwa kwenye wheelbarrow ya yellow. Wanashangaa huyu jamaa anatuambia tuende upande gani. The confusion caused by Raila's statements recently. The Star.
The Standard, Raila Odinga again caricatured here on two sides. One side, what he says, we are ODM who told you ODM will not have a candidate in 2027. Fast, think as ODM. And then what he means, according to this caricature, we are in the government who told you ODM will have a candidate in 2027. Fast, eat as ODM.
Mbembelezi.
Amekuja sana.
Same story there on the People Daily. So you can actually tell the biggest conversation. So they've caricatured the president and the former prime minister in a car. The president is driving. The former prime minister ashaeka miguu nje ya gari and kama anataka kuruka. Alafu mmoja anamuuliza, "Hey baba, you want to jump out when the vehicle is moving?" And I keep driving, I'm thinking about it. Where are they driving to? President Ruto's 2027 re-election highway. So that 3 cartoons talking about the same thing. Finally, the cartoon on the Daily Nation, something different at least.
Matters Haiti. Yesterday, President William Ruto was speaking in Unga, and he called out the United Nations for not giving enough support to Kenyan's mission in supporting Haiti. Lakini hapa is caricatured. Kuna steeplechase anaruka hapo. That is our signature kule.
Anaruka viunzi.
Viunzi. Is it steeplechase?
Si ndio viunzi ni hurdles.
All right. Anasema get me bigger tongues. Hii ni kama yenye tuko nayo ni kidogo sana.
Alisema zile gari alipewa na US zilikuwa mzee. Zilikuwa zina break down.
Oh, wow.
You know, sometimes unataka wakupatie gari zingine lakini unaambia hata zile ulinipatia ni mbaya, gari mbaya.
Siwezi kupea.
Sitaki hata hizo gari mbaya. Alafu unangojea upewe wengine mpya.
Siwezi.
Kashanga. All right, those are the cartoons, at least 3 of them talking about Raila Odinga. So it can tell you the biggest discussion today. All right, that's it in as far as the news review this morning. Let's take a look at one more time at the traffic situation. Tuone kama may improve or it's getting worse. And I can tell you for sure, if you're on Thika Road, it is getting worse. Look at this. This entire stretch of red all the way from Allsops to the Pangani interchange. That's how bad it is. So if you're coming from areas around Kasarani, kama uko Thika Road hata tukaa nyumbani. Because sasa tumerudi kule juu. Okay, from Ruiru all the way to KU iko sawa. KU ni ile shule watu wengine walienda. Lakini ukifika Githurai, there's a whole stretch pale ya red between Githurai and Kasarani. Yeah? Can actually see the entire stretch of red. It would appear there's an incident just before you get to the Kasarani interchange pale. Because inafika pale ina stall. After that inakuwa green, ukienda upita Garden City uende vizuri, ukifika Allsops shida inaanza tena. Yellow kuanzia tu pale drive in KCA University all the way Utalii Drift, Mathare Mental Hospital paka Pangani interchange, it is red and that is trouble. Na unaona hata ile inaitwa side lane, service lane is also occupied by matatus. That means trouble also for people moving from Kiambu Road because after you leave DCI, traffic inaanzia hapo. So if you can avoid those areas, please do. That traffic situation. If you're using Kiambu Road or Thika Road, if you can avoid the Pangani interchange, it's not very good at this time of day. And the traffic is a bit unusual this morning. Other roads, nothing out of the ordinary. Pangani, Outer Ring Road, Jogoo Road, Mombasa Road, looking good. Jogoo Road is building up nicely, but this is just typical traffic all the way from Makadara to Likoni Road roundabout. And that's the only thing. Shida ni Thika Road na Kiambu Road this morning. Yes.
All right, meanwhile, do interact with us on our socials. I'm trying to see if we have any feedback from our viewers. Geoffrey Opio is saying, look alive. Asante sana for watching. Vicky Kate anasema, good morning here on X, but keep on interacting with us on X, TV47 Digital. My handle is at @Ann_Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47.
My handle is at Fred Indimuli.
On Facebook and on YouTube, TV47 Kenya. See you after the break.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us.
With less than 2 years to the August 2027 presidential election, ODM party leaders' Monday announcement disclosing there is no deal yet to back President William Ruto for his re-election bid has caused jitters in his ODM camp, where a section of his allies was already campaigning for Ruto's two-term uninterrupted campaign.
Panapokuja wema twalipa nini? Sasa muhakikishie bosi wangu 2027 mambo ni tu.
We have not passed any resolution as a party to say how we are going to go into the elections of 2027. So wherever you are, don't commit the party to some things which have not been discussed. Let those things be discussed first. We are ODM. Who's told you that ODM will not have a candidate in 2027? Who has told you?
Political pundits say Odinga's statement is a confirmation that he is preparing Kenyans for his sixth term at the presidency, despite the political baggage of betraying a section of Kenyans, especially Gen Zs, when he signed a memorandum of understanding agreeing to work with President Ruto.
And Raila is not about to give up his dream of being the chief officer, the CEO of Kenya Incorporated. He'll still fight for it. BAMBA the 6th is coming. Read my lips.
An Odinga candidature in 2027, if not applaud to scatter the opposition vote, according to pundits, will no doubt hand President William Ruto victory in 2027. In case he decides to join the United Opposition Alliance, there are questions on whether the opposition will accept him back after he deserted them to join Ruto, and whether he can play second fiddle or endorse whoever the opposition chooses as their flag bearer to face Ruto in 2027.
Raila has had chances from 2007 and has won these elections, almost all of them. But I want to tell you this. None would be easier for Raila to win than the 2027 election. And he knows it. Because today, let's start with Gachagua, the Mount Kenya. They are so annoyed with Ruto, they can only be looking for a person who can defeat Ruto. They don't care who. And that's why Raila is the best bride. Everybody in the opposition is looking for him.
Odinga first ran for the presidency in 1997, then subsequently in 2007, 2013, 2017 and 2022, a pattern that has come to define his political career. Each election cycle is typically followed by coalition agreements or partnerships with the ruling government, often symbolized by handshakes. And now, according to analysts, the 2027 race is likely to follow a similar script.
Campaign period, that 1 year, is so important for Raila, and that nothing is hurry at that time, right? It is the proverbial night of the long knives. And Raila knows that. Whoever emerges from that night of the long knives, then we can reconstruct the nation. And he enters the second phase, which is the governing phase. The governing phase of the government means when the state has to let off the resources for development. And he needs a share of that in order to fuel and oil his political machine. And how does he do it? Post-election instability is a big issue.
But you see, Raila is a political animal. The circumstances under which he jumps and how he jumps and the politics he juggles. You know, Raila, you can't put anything beyond Raila. He can just come and say, oh, yeah, and you find people are just responding. Yeah. Me, I don't count Raila out at any time.
Odinga's Monday statement is also seen as a move to stabilize his ODM shape at a time the party is celebrating 20 years, as a section of young Turks led by Secretary General Edwin Sifuna have threatened to quit ODM if the outfit endorses Ruto's 2027 presidential bid. Apul Kamau, TV47.
So yes, indeed, that's the biggest discussion this morning. And if you look at least 3 of the cartoons that we've been looking at our leading dailies, they speak about the same, the kind of confusion that the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga sent this country into following his pronouncements. He's been doing this for the last over 3 decades now, that every time we get close to elections, he keeps people guessing, and he appears to be doing the same this time around. But to what consequence? That's the question we're asking this morning. We're privileged to have in studio with us, beginning on my immediate right, Ngunjiri Wambugu, former MP Nyeri Town. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Fred.
Next to Bwana Ngunjiri, we have Professor Fred Ogola, economics and governance expert. Professor, it's good to have you in studio.
Morning, Fred.
Morning. And for the very first time on Morning Cafe, we have Joseph Kamau Munyoro, MP Kigumo constituency. Karibu sana, Bwana Munyoro. It's a pleasure to have you in studio.
Yes, I'm here.
Gentlemen, for how long will we be talking about Raila Odinga? He's back on the headlines simply because he made a statement, a pronouncement. And people are wondering, because everyone is guessing, okay, what does he mean? Is he running come 2027? Is he ditching Ruto? Is he going to boost the opposition? But should we really care about what Raila Odinga is talking about right now? Bwana Ngunjiri.
Thank you, Fred. Raila is literally, is actually a brilliant politician, because they say well, the success of a politician is to get people doing exactly what you've just done. Where you're not able to understand. I mean, I remember Raila was called an enigma. And we don't use that phrase as much, but that's exactly what he is. When he is able to make a headline or to make a cartoon just by saying a statement that's actually not clear. As you said, he didn't say whether he's going to run. He didn't say whether he's not going to run. He basically said a decision has not been made. And that's how successful political parties are supposed to operate. Remember, Raila's party, ODM, is in a broad-based arrangement with the current ruling party, after having fought to the nail against each other 3 years ago. One of the things Raila has been consistent, he keeps saying, whatever arrangement we have is up to 2027, right? And I congratulate him for this, because what Raila does, he goes for a competition. Once he loses, he reorganizes himself with a new reality until the next competition. So he's telling his people, guys, relax. We can't go making commitments about the next competition until we have finished this particular arrangement that we have. And what does that do? It means that President Ruto and his team have to keep taking care of him. Because why would you want to make a commitment about 2027 and you're not done here? See, once you make that commitment, people start taking you for granted. So he's going to keep reminding them, you know, yes, we're in a broad-based government arrangement, it's working. If you want it to continue working beyond 2027, keep taking care of us. Because once you commit that we are with you to the next, even after the next election, then you're going to see a pivot from government to start looking for other allies. Raila wants to make sure you're still taking care of him and you're taking him seriously all the way up to the next election. He doesn't want a situation that is going to arise in between where people start taking his party for granted. Very, very smart, in my opinion.
All right. Fred, Professor Ogola, the issue is that many people had written off Raila Odinga and as far as another stab at the presidency, probably because of age. But we're seeing in neighboring Uganda, Museveni is going for another term. And what are the chances that even what Bwana Ngunjiri says, that a post-election deal is what ODM or Raila Odinga would prefer rather than a pre-election pact, even with UDA? Don't you think that probably he stands a better chance as running for president and then negotiating another pact with whoever wins after 2027?
Yeah, Fred, maybe it's unfair. You're asking for someone with presidential ambitions whether Raila should qualify to run for president in 2027. I think that maybe I have a better chance. But before I go there, because I'm sure you might say what you want to say, the question is not about whether Raila is fit to run for president. We might be asking the wrong question, is that the Kenyan problem, who can solve the Kenyan problem? Can Raila solve it? I don't think so, because the Kenyan problem is economic, right? You are looking at the front page of Nation, a nation in crisis, and he is inside it. So what will happen if he forms our government that is inside? People are saying he's calling shots inside, and there's a crisis. SHA, you see, health is in crisis, education is in crisis. County government, where he said to the father of devolution, is in crisis. And he's inside government, and he's dancing there pretty well. So without criticizing Raila Odinga, the problem is not Raila Odinga. And the problem has never been Raila Odinga. And the problem will not be Raila Odinga. The problem is us who wake up and only talk about him, as if we have no ambition, as if no one is qualified. And that's what makes them relevant. The only thing that makes these people who are completely not helpful to us useful is that we are desperate. We cannot look and see opportunities. People talk much. I've heard people saying, oh, like that time someone told me, oh, you know, oh, you cannot start running for president when you're young because you have no political experience. Tell me where Trump was elected before he became president. He was elected to that office. When you want to change this nation, we cannot use the old tools which have created this system. If someone has been running for president for 5 times, those are 25 years, and every time he is in government, and that government does not deliver, how are they the right tools now to solve the problem? And I will tell you without fear of doubt, Raila knows very well he has no chance to win the presidency. He is playing games with people. I also can tell you that 98% chances are Raila will back William Ruto. But this, what they are doing here is that they are just giving you what they call a smoke screen. I can tell you that opposition cannot afford Raila Odinga. Why am I trying to say so? Raila Odinga has become an institution.
When you talk about the opposition, who are you talking about?
Opposition, where I belong, where J. Bunturi belongs, isn't it? Kalonzo Musyoka belongs.
Oh, you're talking about the formation known as the United Opposition.
They can't afford him.
Okay.
Why? Raila always have to run on somebody's check. Whose check will Raila Odinga run in 2027?
All right.
Is when Uhuru must have put his check on the table for Raila because Raila helped him, isn't it? Ruto is going for a second term. He cannot put his check on Raila to run against him, right? So on whose check is Raila going to run? Raila never spends his check. Raila spends people's check to run. So are you the one funding him to run in 2027? Secondly, look at how Raila has entrenched himself in government. And I want to tell you very clearly that ODM, that we are saying ODM is supporting Ruto or not supporting Ruto. What is ODM? ODM is now divided 8 times. The first faction is Joho faction. Joho faction from Mombasa will go where they want as coast. You get me? You go to Abagusi, you find that Timothy Bosiri, the national treasurer of ODM, has actually been called by the community to form a community vehicle. You go to Luo Nyanza, Anyang' Nyong'o has his own vehicle, Mbadi has his own vehicle, Opiyo and I has his own vehicle, and I can name for you the 8 factions we are talking about, isn't it? So which is this ODM that will run on? ODM actually has been wiped away in so many regions in this country. Okay. So Raila knows that. But the only thing is, even someone who knows that his car is actually reaching its last point can take his car for a car wash and a paint, and they'll say that he wants to sell his car at the amount of money that he bought it for.
Okay, I get you, Professor, but Bwana Munyoro, are we reading too much? Because I can see at least 2 headlines, the one on the Standard and the one on the Star newspaper, referring to Raila Odinga. 3 cartoons today are talking about Raila Odinga and what Raila Odinga will do come 2027. Are we saying that we are probably misguided or a bit too obsessed with Raila Odinga?
I think because one of the reasons is he's been there for a very long time. But currently, I don't think Raila is the same Raila that we've had in the previous years. Even if he were to join the opposition, I don't think probably he would be the preferred presidential candidate, because we already have people who've declared intent and interest on running on the seat. And if you look at Raila, the way he's always played his game, he's never been interested in leadership. He's interested in being in government while bearing no responsibility. That's why he can be able to speak from both sides of his mouth, that he's in government, but then he will criticize the same government. He will also say that they have an arrangement and his people are in government, others are in the opposition, because they still hold the opposition seats even in parliament. So I don't think Raila is someone that we should be concentrating on at this particular moment in time. The person who should be very worried is President Ruto, because if Raila bolts, Ruto will probably be number 4 or 5 in the presidential election, because his only hope is a basket that is being brought by Raila.
Okay.
If you look at the opposition, currently the joint opposition. Look at Rigathi Gachagua. He's declared intent. He wants to run for president. How can Rigathi negotiate with Raila to give up the seat for him? He's been in government the whole time. So I don't think we should be laying too much emphasis on the past. We should be looking at the future.
But then, either way, for people looking at this from a layman's perspective, then it presents a new opportunity that, fine, there's President William Ruto definitely seeking a second term. There's what we call the United Opposition that has already declared that they are there to ensure Ruto does not return. And now Raila Odinga. What would be the effect of 2027 elections, if at all, these alliances were to split three ways that way? Don't you think that Raila Odinga, if he decides to run and not join the official opposition, then definitely this will cause quite a problem, even for the united opposition, if we may call them that?
I think anyone who is underestimating Raila's influence in the next election is not being very honest with themselves. Whether Raila Odinga runs or not will affect the next election. If he was to run for president and did not run for president with the current opposition, it means you'd have a three-horse race. Then Ruto would most probably come back. If he doesn't run for president and decides to support one of the two, then the person he supports will have a higher possibility of coming back. So that's the first thing that we need to accept, that he is a factor in the next election. And I think what Raila is doing is just ensuring that he doesn't put his cards on the table too early in the day. Again, as I said, the whole intention of when you're a political leader is to keep your ship moving forward. We forget that the reason we establish parties is to pursue power. And you pursue power so that you get the capacity to be able to deliver certain interests from the people who support you, people who are with you. We keep talking about Raila not having ever succeeded to become president, which is true. But Raila has succeeded in ensuring that the people who support him consistently benefit because they support him. So he runs for, as we talk about where does Raila's primary support base come from? And you say it comes from Nyanza, it's got parts of Coast, it's got parts of Western, like that. So every time he has run for president, he's got support from these particular regions. Every time he's lost, we've had him negotiating, which unfortunately tends to be very untidy for us as a nation, because we're going to have violence, we're going to have demonstrations, maandamano, as he negotiates for a post-election accommodation in now with the new person who has won. And that has happened with Moi, it's happened with Kibaki, it happened with Uhuru, and it's happened with Ruto. For any one person to be able to stay relevant with 4 presidents, give it to him. He knows what he's doing. Now, I will agree with Mheshimiwa Munyoro. The Raila we have today is not the Raila we have had over the years, but that's also due to the dynamism and of politics and his own experiences. Gradually, over the years, he's gone getting better at negotiating. And that's why people say today, when you look at Raila, it doesn't look like he's running for the presidency at any given time. He's learned that you run for the presidency, and there's a possibility you'll win and you'll not win. And you must have a plan A, you will win. Plan B, you will not win. Raila hasn't won consistently. So I suspect that his plan B tends to be more defined than his plan A. Today, he's not in government. He's able to comfortably say he's not in government, right? But he's managed to put people who are very senior members of his party into government. He's managed to ensure that regions that have supported him have people from those regions represented in this government and hopefully affecting the development of those particular regions. As we head into 2027, and God willing, Raila is still with the capacities that he has, and we get to the election, I see Raila more interested in first getting a post-election arrangement rather than a pre-election.
Yes.
Why? Because if he does a pre-election, then you have reduced ODM's capacity to mobilize votes.
So chances of him supporting Ruto openly before 2027, or even for 2027, are very low.
I mean, this is politics. Anything can happen. But it's more effective for ODM to continue sitting on the fence, so to speak, even for its own grassroots mobilization. Because you see, Raila is only as powerful as he is because of the members of parliament that he's able to get.
Okay.
We've seen now, like in, is it Banisa? Or is it in Malava? Where Raila has actually managed to convince government not to run a candidate and to support the ODM candidate. No, sorry, it's ODM. I don't know which one of them has stepped down for the other one. Why is that? Because you're still negotiating to sustain your influence in government. Raila knows that he needs to have as many numbers as possible, even post the next election, to be able to negotiate with whoever becomes president. He has his preferred candidates, but he's going to keep his cards to himself as long as he can. But the day he has to put them on the table, he's going to put them on the table, but he's not going to put them on the table too early.
Very interesting, the kind of debates we have on Raila Odinga and what Raila Odinga will do. This definitely caused a lot of confusion, and that has been captured in most of the cartoons. And no, I want us to take a short break, Prof, and we'll be back to continue with this. Okay. Allow us to take a short break. You're watching Morning Cafe. We'll be back to finish this conversation about the kind of confusion that the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga appears to have caused the entire political scene. We'll be back in a short while.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indimuli. We're still trying to understand Raila Odinga and his politics. Everyone is listening to the man. What exactly is he saying? They almost asked the way Atwoli, the Kotu Secretary General, asked, what is he saying? The cartoon on the Standard talks about Raila two frames, what he says and what he means. On one side, we are ODM, who told you ODM will not have a candidate in 2027. First think as ODM. On the second frame, we are in the government, who told you ODM will have a candidate in 2027. First eat as ODM. The stars him on the cartoon on top of a pole showing directions, and it's purely confusion, and everyone down there with an with a wheelbarrow full of oranges is looking up to him, wondering what exactly will he say. Same thing, People Daily. has him and the president inside a vehicle driving towards 2027, and he looks like he's about to jump out of the vehicle, and the president is asking him, hey, you want to jump out while the vehicle is in motion? And he says, keep driving. I am thinking about it. Final word on this, Professor Fred Ogola.
Yeah, first of all, Fred, I agree with my brother here on one occasion that Raila Odinga is the only person capable of creating the third force. You've had since independence that farasi ni mbili. Na inakwanga tu mbili. Because mostly in economies or democracies, people think in two. You are either with the Democrats or Republicans. So in Kenya, we have always had those two sides. And Raila will say, farasi ni mbili. He said it several times. But if Raila runs, for sure, I'm telling you, they'll have a third horse. And the third horse could actually help us to have one term before actually we go for the second round. Because if Raila runs, nobody. Remember when Mudavadi was running, Raila was running, and Uhuru was running, there was a prediction when we were analyzing results that had Mudavadi just crossed the 1 million mark, Uhuru was not going to get 50 plus 1. So the 50 plus 1 magical figure becomes very interesting if Raila runs, because nobody can get it. Even if Raila just announces, I'm running, then he goes to his bedroom and sleeps until the next day we're announcing results, he will carry minimum 3 million votes. And after any candidate has reached 1 million mark, there's no candidate who will get 50 plus 1. That is how it is. And those are the facts. So for that matter, he can create the third force. The second thing which I want to say, which I was trying to disagree with Mheshimiwa here offline, that you are thinking too much about Raila. Raila doesn't think too much long term. When he's saying about 2027, he's looking about how it helps him today. First of all, Raila wants to have a good ODM 20-year celebration. So you want to have it with hope. Raila is one who sells hope the most. If you listen to Raila's speeches, Raila doesn't say anything concrete. He only talks about hope. Hapo mbele tutakuwa sawa ama namna gani? Sawa namna gani? Who knows? Who cares? It's Ruto who goes and starts telling you, on 3rd of June, I will deliver this number of gas. No, Raila has never promised something precise, which is measurable, and that's why measuring Raila's performance becomes difficult, because we will measure him against what? What does he promise you? Raila will not promise you on Tuesday, I'll bring you this. He'll tell you, around Tuesday, we will see things will be okay. So what will that? His name's very fuzzy. So Raila Odinga is thinking about, one, the ODM at 20. He wants people to have a good vibe, because there was a lot of division in ODM before this one. Remember, they called for NDC and canceled the NDC. They canceled NDC because it was going to break the party. So he's bringing celebration moods in the room so that Mombasa becomes vibrant and hopeful, people dance and enjoy Orange, so that Orange has hope of going 2027. And then second, Raila is concerned about the by-election. He wants to show ODM has muscle, ODM can field the candidate. If he gets an MP, he gets money, of course. So that's very practical. Raila has always been very practical, very tactical politician. So the fact that you are thinking too much about it, you are just trying to think too much for him. The second last point I have is that why is Raila enjoying all these things? Raila enjoys all these things because in Kenya there's no political party. A political party could have met and taken a position whether they are supporting William Ruto or not. Not one person who wakes up from his bedroom, he says this, we gaze him. We says that, he gaze him. ANC, if ODM was ANC, the oldest party in Africa, is around 113 years, isn't it? It does not flip-flop, but ODM depends on an individual who says what he wants. If we are meeting CCM, for example, it will work. And then I just want to tell 2 points, Fred, which is very brief. One, I'm very brief, that the culture of kinship is dying, therefore Raila's relevance towards 2027 will also diminish. The last point I also have is that we are moving away from tribal mobilization because the Kenyan problem is economic. So we will have more economic mobilization than tribal mobilization.
That's a whole new debate that
to
be...
No, to the extent, for me, I used to go...
Ideally, we should be moving towards that direction.
I used to go on TV talking about Raila Odinga, isn't it? But now I believe more on who can solve the economic problem. It will never be about who has numbers.
Okay.
And I can tell you, Fred, there are some young people here who actually don't care. Look at how the different generations are thinking about this election. They are thinking about rule of law, human rights, and economy. Those people you are naming have never been standing firm on those three issues I'm talking about.
And we'll talk about that. But for now, we saw that immediately after Raila Odinga was unsuccessful in his quest to be AUC chairperson, that even the United Opposition was excited and even tried making statements suggesting that they would lure him towards their side. Do you think they're looking at it and the situation right now and salivating and saying, yeah, there's still a possibility and opportunity here that we could work with Raila Odinga?
No, I don't think the opposition is looking for Raila. I think Raila is the one who will look for the opposition if that if decides. Huh? And I also wanted to comment and say, if you look at the Raila currently that is now in government, the kind of base he had, look at Kisii. And I totally disagree with Professor here regarding mobilization, because here politics is about reality. And if you don't mobilize blocks of people, you are unlikely to ever lead this country. And the opposition now, if you look at, I was talking about Raila, if you look at Nyanza, Kisii, that base has disappeared. If you look at Western, a very big portion of the Western bloc, that is the Luhya people, are not with Raila. And he's been able to use that base as a bloc for his negotiations. So even when he's coming to negotiate, if at all that happens, they will be negotiating from a point of weakness. Again, being a third force, like Professor here clearly saying, is something that will help neither of the candidates, which means if you go into a runoff, the most likely outcome is Ruto will not be part of the runoff, because if Ruto does not have Raila by his side, I don't think he can even get 3 million votes in the next election. So, like I said earlier, the person who should be concentrating much on these Raila statements and where he's headed is not the people in the opposition. It should be the president and his people, because that is the only vote that they can actually, other than the Rift Valley vote, that is the only place that they can look for votes. Because if you go across the country, I don't think Ruto has any hope without Raila. So while we might belabor the point and discuss Raila because he's been there, we'll talk about him, he's negotiating post-election, pre-election, he's trying to steady his ship. But even the unfortunate bit, and that is a reality that we live by, is that even the people we are with in parliament, they will wait for directions from Raila, the people who are with him. If today he decides that they are not in government, all of them again will start criticizing government. If tomorrow he says we are back in government, again that will happen. And that has been the ODM way of doing things.
All right.
So as much as we try and say that we could have parties in this country, normally we have parties, but there is someone within the party who gives the direction of the party.
All right.
And that's why even negotiations, you run or you watch them on TV without knowing that something that is going on. And Raila has been, he's very adept at those surprises. So
Enough.
That is the only way. But in terms of a runoff, I think it would be to our benefit, the people who are not in support of Ruto.
All right. And yes, the confusion persists on what exactly Raila Odinga will do in 2027. And his latest pronouncements leaving more questions than answers. And that has been captured on the dailies. What we do here is simply look at the dailies and what they've managed to capture. And before we move on from this discussion, let me sample some of your views online. We've asked a question on who stands a better chance come 2027. And I don't know why this appears to have gone. Yes, T47 asking, do you believe Raila Odinga's announcement signals a personal comeback bid for 2027, or is it purely a strategic ODM move? That's a question that you're asking. Some of your feedback, Fred Mokwa says, demanding for float increase or delays. Olo Richard, strategy is science. Martin Okwomi says his bet with Kenyans failed the time he got married to the government. Mutuma Raibu Magiri says, yes, we all know he will be on the ballot. To preserve ODM, he has to. Daniel Shitandi Onyango says he only wants to increase his stake in government. Baba is a negotiator while Ruto is a strategist. That's why Joho currently is more to Ruto than Raila. Oparanya is on Ruto's side. Even if Baba was to chicken out of Ruto's government, he'll be the loser. Currently, ODM is a village party. It's a vehicle that has less fuel to propel someone to the sixth. Where? I tell you. Those are just some of your comments. And one more. Benson Kireu says, no, Raila opposition should be careful than ever before. Back years now, opposition let have new face politics, not Raila, who's in government today. Tom Mulongo says, yes, he can be backed by Ruto. I know hakuna mtu amefikiria hadi hapo. Interesting take on what's exactly Raila Odinga. And yeah, the opinions are as varied as they come. No one really knows what will happen, and I guess time will tell. Talking of parties, yesterday there was something interesting that made a lot of discussion online, and Bwana Ngunjiri Wambugu, I saw your picture all over the place because you were talking to one Fred Matiangi, and now today the headlines are screaming, Jubilee prepares for Matiangi takeover as Ruto eyes Ruto showdown. Jubilee has floated Dr. Matiangi as its preferred candidate to challenge President Ruto's re-election bid. So the story reads that the former Interior CS has given the clearest signal yet that he may seek the presidency in 2027 on a Jubilee party ticket under the stewardship of retired President Uhuru Kenyatta. Yesterday, he met a section of Jubilee leaders at Safari Park Hotel, including the former MP for Nyeri Town, Ngunjiri Wambugu, is with us today. Ahead of the party's special NDC set for this Friday, the meeting appeared to reinforce reports that Mr. Kenyatta is preparing to hand over the reins of that party to the former minister in readiness for the next general election. Now, this could mean a lot of things, even for the united opposition that Fred Matiangi has been working with. Jubilee has for the longest time taken a back step from that discussion. The SG Jeremiah Kioni is not one to be seen with the likes of the former deputy president. Is the story, one, accurate?
That what?
That the former CS is going to take over the reins of the party come Friday, and is he running for president on a Jubilee party ticket?
First and foremost, if I was to tell you whether he's going to take over the reins of the party on Friday, then what would we be waiting for tomorrow? I think that one we need to wait for tomorrow. We need to wait for that for tomorrow, and we will. By the end of the day tomorrow, we'll have an idea. The whole country will know what's happening. I think Uhuru Kenyatta has done a brilliant thing. He's built a party, he's taken care of it, gone through it in his presidency. He was a student of Moi, and Moi did something very similar. When he left power, he made sure he tried as much as possible to leave a party. Of course, it fell apart after he retired. Uhuru has learned from that. He wants to make sure. In fact, if you realize, Uhuru most probably have handed over Jubilee immediately after he left office. But then we had a bit of internal sibling rivalry that we needed to sort out. We remember we had a couple of our members we had some wrangles in between our membership. The court cases are finished now, so we are able to sit down together as one party and decide what is the next step that we're moving on. As regards Fred Matiangi, when I was in Parliament, I was a member of the Security Committee, and we used to oversight him. And if you remember, Matiangi got to the point where he became a de facto chief minister, or is it prime minister in Uhuru's government. And Matiangi was in cabinet from 2013. So he's one of the ministers who moved into critical ministries for the entire 10 years that Uhuru was in office as president, which makes him literally one of the most intense, internally involved people within the manifesto of Jubilee. In fact, I don't understand why people keep asking where Matiangi's heart is. If you spend 10 years implementing the manifesto of a particular party, first you must believe in that manifesto for you to be able to implement it. Second, the fact that we're talking about him now, 3 years after Uhuru left office and after he left office, means he did a good job doing that. Number three, the reason Jubilee has been a bit quiet, see, us guys have been around for a bit. So we know that timing is extremely important. We also know that politics is not a 100-meter dash. It's a marathon. You need to take care of certain things before you go out to the public to start mobilizing for an election. And that is what we were doing. Cleaning house, reorganizing ourselves, rebranding ourselves, re-strategizing. And as we head to tomorrow, actually, the special national delegation.
Is it tomorrow or Friday? It's
Friday, sorry. I thought, I don't know. I'm so used to coming here on Thursdays.
Okay.
I actually thought this was a Thursday. As we head to the SNDC this Friday, one of the things that was important was to actually cause the kind of excitement we caused. When we were coming in to start the show, we had this conversation about, hey, si Jubilee ilikuwa imekufa. The fact that we are still exciting people and making people think, Allah, this party has been around. It also tells you that we've learned a couple of things. We've learned how to ensure that we keep ourselves going as a party, we stay relevant. Remember, we're the third largest party. People keep forgetting that. We're the third largest party as far as Parliament is concerned in terms of numbers in Parliament. I know we keep saying what is going to happen in 2027. But anybody who's done politics for a long time realizes that you plan the next election based on the last one. Okay. The only numbers we can talk about are the last ones. Today we can talk about, as my friend Mheshimiwa Monyoro was saying, what is happening. We can say Western has gone, we can say Mount Kenya has gone, we can say whatever we want. But we don't have any tangible evidence in terms of numbers about what has gone. Okay. We can only say what happened 3 years ago. What happened 3 years ago is going to be the constant until it happens again in 2027. Then in 2027, we'll change. Why do I say that? Today, 3 years ago, Gachagua was a firm stalwart of William Ruto. 2 years later, they've fallen apart. How do we know whether in another 2 years they're going to come together again? Today, 3 years ago, Raila was fighting with Ruto, 100%. Today, we are calling them, we are saying they're in bed together politically. But here, we are still discussing whether they are going to be in bed in another 2 years or not. So when you're planning, and for us as Jubilee, that's what we do. When you're planning, you have to have multiple scenarios. Yes. You have to have the first scenario, second scenario, third scenario.
Yes.
And for us, the most important thing as Jubilee is to ensure we had a powerful manifesto that took Kenya forward for 10 years.
And it's good that you say that things do change, because a few months back you were working for the former deputy president, now you're not. Yes. And it's the challenge that presents now, that Fred Matiangi has been working closely with the former deputy president. Now you are in a party working with him being the possible candidate or even the party leader going forward. And does that therefore mean that there's still a possibility that Jubilee could work with the united opposition?
I don't.
Are you ruling out anything?
No. We haven't even made any commitment. Right now, all we are doing is having a special national delegates conference as
those decisions
Jubilee
will be made there.
Now, those decisions will be announced from there. And it might not even be all the decisions that will be announced from there, because we still have a by-elections coming up in another month. There is so much dynamism and so much fluidity going on in the political scene right now that as Jubilee, first, we are looking at 2027. Our intention would be to take over government and continue doing the work we were doing over the last 10 years, right? And that's how we are focused. Okay. And our intention is to have Matiangi, or our presidential candidate, I don't want to go and unveil it before Friday, our presidential candidate being the next president of the Republic of Kenya in 2027. Okay. And so as we deal with everyone in the opposition, wherever they are, we are dealing with the intention of ensuring that we are a key stakeholder and a key operator in Kenya's politics now, and God willing, in 2027, because we did a good job. I mean, 10 years, for heaven's sake. We kept the country stable. We implemented a lot of things. Today, we keep hearing people saying, "Oh, it's so bad." Fred, politics is such an interesting thing. When we were in office, guys were complaining about us, and when Uhuru gave a certain direction, people refused, right? And now today, the people who refused, who especially coming from places like Mount Kenya, who were at the front insisting that Uhuru didn't know what he was saying, and the people who are telling us Uhuru knew what he was saying. So give it to him.
Professor Ogola, you speak sometimes for the united opposition because you are working with them.
Yeah.
So you understand the workings therefore. And do you see a challenge in this, that probably a strong or re-energized Jubilee party would cause, especially in the Mount Kenya region? Because most of the MPs for Jubilee party are predominantly from the Mount Kenya region. And the fact that...
Sorry, correction. Right now, most of them are actually from Northeastern. Most of the ones in office.
Okay.
Actually from
thank you for that correction. Yes. But it was a big party within the Mount Kenya region. Now with other parties coming up, the likes of DCP, a re-energized Democratic Party, do you see a challenge? Because headlines just 2 days ago were talking about a rift within the united opposition.
Yeah, first of all, Fred, I want to say that the opposition is very much aware that if they don't stand together, they'll be roasted together. But whether this awareness has created enough threat to them to unite is another story. Here, normally the story about the rainbow, where all colors were thinking that they were very independent and the rest. And then lightning, when, let's say, thunder strikes, then they unite. We are waiting for that moment that thunder needs to strike, then opposition actually can realize that they have to board together. So having said that, let me say the following. Matiangi going to look for Jubilee and being declared party leader of Jubilee will break away from a very long years of history since independence. There is no single president who has been president on a party that is not his. Look from history, isn't it? Uhuru Kenyatta had his own party. Ruto had his own party. Kibaki had his own party. Moi had his own party. Of course, he inherited it, but he inherited a party of his. Kenyatta the same. Matiangi believes that you can come from Kisii and take a party from Mount Kenya and be identified. There will be identity crisis there. I'm thinking that if it's me asking me, then Matiangi should think otherwise, because he will be seen even by the Kisii as a stooge of Jubilee. They won't own him compared to if he built a party which is homegrown. Fred, as I said earlier, that politics is not supposed to be tribal, it's local, but not tribal. So, I mean there's local mobilization, because I cannot come from here, then go to Mount Kenya, and believe that Mount Kenya will love me for me. I have to get somebody from Mount Kenya, whom I work with, who can sell my policy in the local context of Mount Kenya. Doesn't mean it's tribal, but it just means I'm being local. So local ownership of Matiangi will be very important for his candidature. So if you ask about the Uhuru Kenyatta thing, then I come to your main question directly. Uhuru Kenyatta retired, but he wanted still to be active in politics. And he discovered the only way to do that is actually to ensure his party survives, because if he doesn't want to be active in politics, you know, the court cases have dragged for 3 years. He could have just said, forget about it. And I'm sure he's been bothered and bogged down by that case. So it's very important for this matter. But he has found that to strengthen this party, you might get somebody who is as strong as Matiangi to come into that party and maybe give it the way it goes. So I can end there by saying that it seems Jubilee needs Matiangi than Matiangi needs Jubilee. Because if Jubilee does not get any strong candidate like Matiangi, then Jubilee is actually dead. Why am I trying to say so? Jubilee had around 30 elected members of parliament, but if you say that Jubilee is having many, number 3, those number 3 are only on paper. Most of them joined William Ruto immediately. That's why Jubilee actually was taken dead. In fact, there's a time even Ruto was calling Sabina Chege, party leader of Jubilee. Kanini Kega were the one calling shots in Jubilee. So we know very well that the 2 members of parliament who are with Jubilee are around 2 people only. And some of them decide to be neutral. So Jubilee is technically dead if Matiangi does not come. Now the question about strong opposition. I want to say this, Fred, and this is my prediction, and it might come to pass. If Matiangi comes in, takes up Jubilee, and strengthens Jubilee in Mount Kenya, and then Jubilee starts giving DCP a strong competition, I'll tell you the following. Gachagua will come out gun blazing to confront Matiangi, Jubilee Party, because if you ask me, the single most important thing for Gachagua or DCP is that they control Mount Kenya in terms of MPs, MCS, and the rest. And if a stronger Jubilee will eat into that pie, Gachagua might not mind running or not running. But if anybody eats into the pie of the MPs and MCS, Gachagua will find he has nothing to gain, and he might actually fight. And actually, Gachagua had asked Uhuru Kenyatta family for forgiveness. I can predict if Uhuru Kenyatta's family, that is the Kenyatta family, strengthen Matiangi to eat out the pie from Gachagua, then Gachagua will come and hit hard at that family again because of the following. He will tell Uhuru that when you became president for 10 years, You never called for the so-called Limuru 3. You never prepared a successor for Mount Kenya. You left us as orphans. Now I've woken up the community back and united back. Then you come back again and want to take us back. I'm sure Uhuru Kenyatta tried to help Raila to become president when he was president. He failed. He will be told that now that you are not even president, you cannot help Matiangi. So leave us alone. Okay. And for that matter, it is better for opposition that Matiangi takes up his own party, builds his identity with it, then comes united opposition, DCP comes in it, and then they agree on the way forward.
Yes, but Munyura, I want your assessment on this because, as the Professor said, Fred Matiangi coming to the joint opposition on his own party is something different as opposed to him coming with a Jubilee tag. I've seen some criticism and some mudslinging online already once the photo appeared of Ngojiri Wambugu and Fred Matiangi yesterday, and people are saying, and these are people associated with the United Opposition, that honor project ndio hii. That tag is already there. Do you believe that, yes, this will definitely renew old rival?
You know, the most ironic thing, Idimuri, about this is that the person who knows best that projects don't work is the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Because it was Moi's project in 2002. He tried a project in 2022, it didn't work.
Are you calling it a project?
And I'm telling you from what you've seen, because there's been that claim that the suspicion has been Matiangi is not in the race to win or to run. He's in the race to break up the opposition. And from yesterday, he will be very hard-pressed to extricate himself from that tag. Why? If you are running, you first consolidate your base. 2, Kioni has been running around this country saying that their candidate is Matiangi. So it's not been private. There was a time he was interviewed and he was asked about his party and he said he didn't want to mention about a party or something. But from what we saw yesterday, and Ngojiri is my friend, but he's one of Rigathe's greatest critics. So if you're moving around with the people who are fighting me, for example, if that's a question that Rigathi would be asking himself, are you with me or are you fighting me? Secondly, if you look at Jubilee, Jubilee for all practical purposes is dead. And I'm telling you, come to Parliament. As for those people who are voted in on that ticket, where are they? Some are in government, some are with the opposition, some are nowhere. So when you talk about Jubilee, we go to Mount Kenya right now, because we were running the 2022 elections. The president then was sitting, and he was unable to get MPs. So you cannot tell me that he'll get someone from, in the name of Matiangi, to come in and revive Jubilee and create a wave that would get people into Parliament. So Matiangi has made, it's a disservice to himself, and maybe it's good for the opposition so that we know early whether this man is running with the opposition or he's someone's project. I've seen the Nation here is writing that he's running, he'll be running for the presidential under the stewardship of the former president, which means it's someone holding your hand. So Matiangi cannot, for all intents and purposes, claim to be independent if he's running on Jubilee. Wow. We do not know the kind of support he has, because really, he has not campaigned. And you remember when Rigathi was in the US, this country had no opposition. So basically, people are trying to position themselves in such a way that either you are handed over the baton, you are told you run, or you just sit and wait, hoping something happens that is miraculous. But politics does not work like that. You have to work for your seat. Politics, you have to campaign. You have to go out there and convince people that you are worthy of being president, if that's what you want. And that starts with the local mobilization, that you must have a base. Because ultimately, whether you like it or not, when it comes to negotiations, people come and sit and say, my base is this number of votes. My base is this number of votes. So even when you're negotiating for seats, like you'll be the speaker or you'll have this number of CSs, you have a particular, what would Matiangi sit down with?
So basically, you prefer Matiangi, from where you sit, you prefer Matiangi on his own party and not Jubilee?
I honestly don't speak for him, and I don't know his plans, but what I'm saying, from where I sit, Matiangi doesn't look like he's in the opposition.
Okay.
Matiangi looks like he's a project who's coming to break the party. And that suspicion has been there.
All right.
And we will confirm it as we go along.
I think, Bwana Mbogo, this will be the biggest burden for Fred Matiangi and even Jubilee, just getting rid of that project tag.
First and foremost, Fred, there's something I want us to, we need to stop talking from both sides of our mouth. Huh? Either you're strong because you have numbers in parliament or on the ground, right? So we have a situation where you will say that the members of parliament elected in Jubilee are no longer with Jubilee, so Jubilee is dead, right? And then I would ask, for example, Mheshimiwa Munyoro, whether he's in UDA right now. So is UDA strong or is it weak? He's still a member of parliament of UDA at this moment. But he doesn't associate himself with the UDA philosophy at this moment. So has UDA become weak because he has left? Mm-hmm. If you go to Mount Kenya today, we have to ask ourselves, so we are saying Jubilee is weak because members of parliament, because its members of parliament are associated with the government. So is the ODM strong right now or is it weak because members of ODM are associated with government? So has that made the party weaker? Has it made it stronger? And that's why I said politics is very dynamic. We have to deal with the realities of this moment in time. At this moment in time, Matiangi, the reason people are getting upset, because if Matiangi wasn't a factor, people would not care whether he has gone to Jubilee or he's in, what is the party from Nyamira called? And I remember somebody making fun and saying, do you actually expect Matiangi to come and run for president of Kisii? You know, sometimes some of the candidates who are running for opposition are running as if they're running for president in their home. We keep talking about a base. What is Matiangi's base? Why are we assuming Matiangi's base is Kisii? What if Matiangi's base is Gen Z? Do Gen Z come from Kisii? You know, we have to first define what is the base of a candidate, you know? Gachagua, for example, he has decided his base is Mount Kenya. In fact, when he was on an interview recently, he said, akitoka natoka na kura milioni saba. Now, my problem is, out of that milioni saba, he's counting mine. Because you know, even me, I come from that region and have a vote. So he's counting my vote as part of that 7 million. And I will not vote for him. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who will not vote for him. So when you're counting your base, first start by being realistic about what your base is. A lot of people have been telling Matiangi, you need to go to Kisii and come from Kisii to run for president. The assumption is Kisii is Matiangi's base. First, Matiangi has never run for office. So he's never been elected in Kisii, right? As Prof here said, talked about Trump. Trump had never been elected anywhere. He ran for president. What was his base? Was his base where he came from? Was his base his home? Was his base, in fact, Trump had grown up a Democrat, then changed conveniently to become a Republican to run for president, right? And he won it. So as we discuss about Matiangi, let's stop pigeonholing him and say, you know, Matiangi is a Kisii.
But listening to you, Bwana Wambugu,
yes,
it sounds like this is the first steps of Fred Matiangi stepping away from the united opposition. Just listening to your tone of voice.
No. First and foremost, you know, Matiangi is not in government. You see, also, there's something we also need to be very careful about. There are people in opposition who have decided they're the ones who are going to decide how other people in opposition behave. That's not going to happen. Every person, you know, when you're in government, you're under one umbrella. So you behave how government is supposed to behave. When you're not in government, you can't tell me that's Gunjiri, wherever you say when you opposition huko kwa serikali, you are supposed to be following so and so. I'll tell you no. Hata mimi naweza kutengeneza kachama yangu na nianze kufanya maneno yangu. Because when you're outside government, you're literally a free spirit. You can decide absolutely anything about how you want to operate. So people need to stop trying to pigeonhole and say that, you know, Jubilee is in opposition, so they have to behave like Kalonzo.
Let me ask you a direct question, because yes, you are very much in the workings of what made probably towards the formation of the united opposition. Then you bolted out. Are you comfortable working with the united opposition as a former member of National Assembly representing Nyeri Town?
You see, first let me just answer your question. Yes, I am. Because I'm not in government. And when you're not in government...
So you're still comfortable working with Gachagua?
I can work with absolutely anything. Because even my differences with Gachagua are not personal. They are based on principle, right? I don't like how he's doing his politics. But that is him. For all you know, he could actually succeed, right? I don't do politics how Gachagua does politics. And our fallout with him, remember, fell out when he started actually doing politics. Because before, when I was working with him, he was deputy president, right? He was in an office that had functions and structures. He left office, started doing politics. And when he started doing politics, because I had never stopped being a member of Jubilee, and he knew that. When he started doing politics, and the politics he was doing now started getting into conflict with my politics, we fell out. Today, I listen to Gachagua, I listen to Kalonzo, I listen to Eugene, I listen to Matiangi, I listen to Raila. People who are in opposition, Raila is in opposition. He has defined he's cut out his path of how to do his opposition politics. Let us not pigeonhole Matiangi on how he's going to do opposition politics, because all of us are pursuing the opportunity or the responsibility of running this country. Right. We are going to use our path. Matiangi is using his. And I want to finish by saying this. I don't know why guys think Matiangi is coming to Jubilee. I started by saying earlier, my first answer was, Matiangi has spent 10 years implementing the Jubilee manifesto. Okay. At what point did he leave?
Okay. Professor, are you now more suspicious of Jubilee now that Matiangi appears to be crossing to that side or getting the ticket from that side?
Fred, I want to say that, yeah, because there's a lot of things which are coming clearly, and I can agree with Mheshimiwa here, that as united opposition, we have agreed that we have to get an algorithm that will send Ruto home. And this algorithm has so many vowels and factors in it. Anybody destroying that algorithm is our enemy. Anybody wishing Ruto to have second term, or anybody playing with that formula to favor Ruto's second term is an enemy. People love Raila Odinga. Me and Raila come from the same county, almost nearly the same village. I can hear celebration from Raila's home from my home. But I disagree with him when he walked away on the whole nation and joined the enemy. Fred, I've said this on television. Dear to me is Raila. Dearer is the truth, human rights, economy, and justice. When you walk away from those things, we disagree with you. And I want to say, Fred, because I'm here on behalf of the People's Restorative Justice Commission, and I want to use that to maybe tell Mheshimiwa Mbugo why I am concerned. People's Restorative Justice Commission was mentioned as agenda number 1 for opposition, to ensure that the Gen Zs, the young people who actually lost their lives, who abducted, disappeared, get their justice. And opposition said, we don't want to wait for 2027, we want to do it now. How much has Matiangi supported it? Mm-hmm. Has he spoken about it? Give it to him. People can say a lot of things about Rigiji. He's not my preferred politician anyway. I didn't even like him because he was with Ruto. But he went to the US and he mentioned about it, that we have set up a commission to ensure the young people get it. You might not like him, but he said it. Matiangi, with all his goodness, he's never talked about it. He talks about this thing up like fuzzy, let us talk, people can talk to young people. What is talk? So for me, I want Matiangi to come. You know, Matiangi, let me tell you something. Matiangi did a degree in communication. Matiangi is not like a teacher. Matiangi has a degree in information. So he knows how to communicate. When he's fuzzy, then he has done it by intention. He should come out clearly and call out this government straight on the face. Is he capable of doing that? Rigiji does it, isn't it? Let Gim go and tell Matiangi to come out and tell us the evil of this government on camera. Look at it. I'm sure he got an interview with one of the TV47 anchor. Was Matiangi very clear about this corruption in government? Mm-hmm. He just says, tunajua, akuna. You know, we don't want fuzziness. Say it as it is. Okay. So that's one thing I have. The second thing I have is that if Matiangi is strong, why does he need Jubilee? You know, he said very well Matiangi is strong, isn't it? Do you know, Fred, that 80% of the strength of a party determines it comes from the party leader? If Raila was to quit ODM now and create a party called Fred Indimuli, that will be the most popular party after 2 days. You get me? Gachagua was strong. Reasons me, I don't know. He formed a party called DCP. Did you know DCP 1 year ago? How strong is DCP now? That shows the mettle of Gachagua. You can say whatever you want, isn't it? But that's strong. He has created a party. So Matiangi should pick up a party, name it, then tomorrow it is trending. That is the strength. So if Matiangi is strong, why does he need Jubilee? If Jubilee is strong, why do they need Matiangi? These questions must be answered. Then the last point I have, I want to ask every member of opposition, we should quantify the risk of Ruto re-election. It is bigger than Ruto's first election. And once we know that, we should not just shout one term. One term, Fred, won't happen. One term must be made to happen. People say, oh, Gen Zs cannot vote for Ruto. But what are we doing with them? Are we promoting these young people to leadership? How do we bring them to political space? Let them be involved. Let them fight for united opposition the way they fought against the finance bill. Right. That is the only time we can actually make a change. But these things of doing the normal politics, using the playbook which have failed before, will not take us anywhere.
23 months to elections, this could just be the biggest crack within the united opposition. Are you concerned that the kind of suspicion between you and what you see Jubilee as could be the Waterloo?
I think I've listened to Gojiri, and one of the things that he said is that he left, he stopped working with Gachagua and he stopped being the deputy president. Which brings the question, who does he work for? Because he didn't answer that question directly. The other thing I wanted to say is to buttress what the professor said. This thing of Matiangi, even when you do an interview with him, he's never directly criticized the president. He has never looked him in the eye and told him, what you are doing is wrong, what you've done is wrong. These people you've killed, like addressing the president. Gachagua has done that over and over and over again. And I think one of the reasons that there has been that suspicion is the way he's just carrying himself, the way he's communicating, and now his associations. Because once you start associating people with people who people are suspicious about, you also become suspicious. And Matiangi will not help his cause by being the presidential candidate of Jubilee. And when I said Jubilee was dead, I didn't mean that we don't have MPs who are voted for in that party. I meant people who would go back now and still vie for the same. You vie for the same seat with the same party. Personally, I cannot vie with the party that brought me to parliament. If I was to go back now.
You dare to use that?
Which party is that?
That is, because for us, for all practical purposes, that's a dead party from where we come from. And anyone running on that party will meet with the voters. So we might try and polish and, just try and paint a different picture from what the reality is. DCP is a very, very strong party. And that you can gauge by name recognition. That if you mention DCP in this republic, someone will know who the party belongs to. That's number one, who is pushing the agenda of the party. But there are some parties that even if you were to mention them, no one would have an idea who is the party leader, where that party comes from, or which base or which region. So you need to be strong to create a party. The reason someone would run away from creating their own party is probably their own weakness. That they know if I create a party and I run with it, it would probably be one of those briefcase parties that we have. And there's so many.
Are you not concerned that these rivalries that are now generating, because we made to understand that even with Eugene Wamalwa, the DCP party leader is not in good
No.
books with...
So many things are peddled, even by NIS in this republic, so that you create suspicion. I've sat in meetings where those people have sat and discussed a lot of things. And if you look, for example, the Malava seat, Panyako is the one who has that DAP ticket. And most likely he's the one who's getting it. So it will not even go to ODM, it will not go to UDA. That was a UDA seat.
Is DCP still...
No. We agreed that,
you pulled out your candidate.
That the person who will be running was DAP.
DAP, okay.
And the same happened in Beira North, where the stronger candidate, as opposition, they agree that we put someone who will know, has a chance. And that is how the opposition is supposed to work. So once you start running a lone campaign, and then you start creating divisions, people obviously become suspicious. And I'm telling you, this is something Matiangi might not be able to get out of. Because once you get that tag, number one, of a project, number two, of someone who's inside there working to ensure that the united opposition doesn't work or breaks up, that is a tag that will be very, very hard for him to run away from.
All right.
Fred, I know he wants to answer. Let me just say one thing before Mheshimiwa answers. The other thing he has to tell us that Matiangi needs to confront his ghost the way Gachagua did. I told you I don't like Gachagua, but there's something he did. He said, I am sorry. I told you to go UDA. You followed me. I am sorry. He has said, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was misled. Now I'll get on my Damascus moment. He's saying that for political reasons, but he has said it. Let at least Matiangi confront his ghost, which he knows those ghosts. Because if you want to tell us, forget about the past, now just take me, and you don't tell us what to forget about. I'm a Catholic. I have to go for confession and tell God what it is. So he has to come out clearly and confront this ghost and tell us clearly what happened. Because if you look at how Matiangi broke away, Matiangi was to be arrested by William Ruto. There was a time he was being arrested. Even Raila was in compound. Then all of a sudden, he came back and nearly joined the Wagusi came, had a meeting. He nearly joined UDA. Then he went to Quad. So we do not know how he broke away again from there. No, this is on record because I'm talking about what's on record.
Okay, okay.
What happened, what negotiation took place for him not to be arrested because there was a case that was against him by the current government, isn't it? So he
all these things are coming out now?
No, but listen, I'm mentioning facts because when Gachagua was confronted by Ruto, he went all the way to impeachment.
Okay.
You get me?
Gentlemen, I would
but
come
this
about...
one was, this looked like a handshake
yes.
and chini ya meza.
Yes.
So I'm not saying there is anything. We want him to
But there's a lot of suspicion either way.
Yes, he has to come.
Let me give you each about 2 minutes for your final words.
I need to give me slightly more because now I have to...
Go ahead.
First, we appreciate, and on behalf of Jubilee, we appreciate all the feedback we're getting from these guys. And we will listen to them and we will take what makes sense for us. We hear what they think we should be doing. They hear what they think we should be saying. We hear what they think we should be carrying ourselves with. But you see, ultimately, Jubilee is going to make the decision that is in the best interest of Jubilee as a party. Number one. Number two, if it's about name recognition of a party, I don't think there's anybody in this country who doesn't know Jubilee. If it's about numbers of members of parliament, we are the third largest party in the country by fact. In terms of numbers. If it is about members, 7 million, they have not retracted. Even as of this month, we still have 7 million people in our books as members of the party. So we appreciate the fear. A lot of people would have wanted Jubilee to disappear so that we create space for them to invest and then take over. But I think we also need to move away from this feeling or this belief that every new presidential party, every new presidential candidate has to come to create a new party. I hear that a lot coming from this side, that, when you're running for president, first go and build a party so that people can know what kind of person you are. Why do you need to do that? Which other country, how are we going to say that every time we have a new presidential candidate, you have to come up with a new party? No, we also need to have parties as institutions. And I want to congratulate Matiangi for actually breaking the trend of having to come and build a new party. And I say this specifically for this. Matiangi has determined he's going to do his politics different. Matiangi is not going to go insulting anyone. That is not how he does politics. He's not going to call people names. He's not going to cast aspersions. He will call wrong for wrong. But remember, Matiangi is building his presidential brand and profile now. We wait for 2 days. We see how he takes off. We see how he deals with that now as a presidential candidate, as an official presidential candidate. Other people have declared themselves. Matiangi wants to be declared. Matiangi wants to be given an endorsement by a party that exists. That's a very brave thing to do, especially as people have pointed out, this is a party that is not normally associated with where he comes from. So he's going to ask people who are not normally his people, would you vote for me as president? So the first thing that Jubilee is doing is endorsing somebody who is not associated with where they're supposed to be strong, and saying, you know what, Fred, we actually believe you can be president. Once we have a party that is not associated with you endorsing you to run for president, you are ahead of everybody else who has only been endorsed by his family. So that's the first thing we need to agree. Then when he hits the ground and we see what he's doing, I want to finish by saying, let the other opposition leaders stop imagining, or they need to get out of this sense of entitlement. Nobody is going to define for another opposition leader how they're going to do their politics.
Okay.
ultimately, the unity of purpose within the opposition is going to be based on principle. And it doesn't mean that if you're in opposition, you're a saint. You can be in opposition and be a devil, and we will call you out. It doesn't mean that everybody who is on the side of the opposition is a good person, right? So if you're a bad person and you're in opposition, we will call you out. You know, there's this feeling that we are all in opposition, so please don't say bad things about Professor because you are going to disunite us. Then we go with you, then you reach in government and you start doing bad things. No, we will deal with you now before you get into government.
All right.
So that when we go into government, we don't have bad people who will start getting us attacked as a government because we carried them and we don't want to criticize them when we're in opposition because we're scared of disunity.
Okay. Thank you, Bwana Mbugu. Fred, Professor, final comment.
Mine is to say that the more we move away from personality politics, the better. We need to focus on institutions, systems, structures. And I want to urge all the members of the opposition that let us unite, but let us not unite only with a call for one term. Let us unite with a purpose to solve people's problem, which is currently economic, followed by rule of law. You remember now, SHA is in trouble, healthcare is in challenges, education is in challenges. Let us do what we can do now. Let us not postpone, because the person dying of hunger is dying now. That child who can get education can't get it now. That person who cannot pay his hospital bills can't do now. Those people who have their lost members, missing members, those who have died and need justice, they need it now. 2027 is too far. I would prefer those Matiangis, the Gachaguas, the Kalonzos, all those opposition members being obsessed by people's issue now, and by being with people with them. And I also want to say by telling Kenyans that Kenya needs to evolve from these things of too much tribalism, because I don't like where people say, if this region does not support so-and-so, then they are going to have bad economics. No, let us just have a Kenya that is united, and the Kenyan problem is economic, and let us not look at leaders' qualification in terms of who has been there longer, who can shout more. We let's look at the person who has got the economic formula to solve the Kenyan problem, and I have this solution called Evolve. It's an economic model which can actually help solve Kenya, based on Solomonic economics. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Finally, Bwana Munyora.
Thank you. I think now I'm clear, and we are all clear, that Matiangi will be the presidential candidate for Jubilee. Jubilee has confirmed.
We wait for Friday. I would want him to be, but we're in a democratic
party. Insist we wait for the NDC.
So many words. What we are saying is simple, that this opposition, the kind of energy required, the kind of work required to make sure that Ruto is not re-elected clearly will not come from his direction. And if he's going to be a project of some party, well and good, and we wish him well, but I think people will see through it. And Kenyans are not stupid. Currently, people are suffering. And that is the reason that the one-term clarion call is all over the country. And I think the opposition, they've been saying this, Rigathi has been saying it time and time again, that we need to be united if we are to remove the president. So I think it's good to confirm that Matiangi's candidature is already with Jubilee. It's also good to know that he's probably a project of some party. And I don't think that will rock the opposition.
All right.
I also want to disagree that you can have an amorphous base that is not well defined. If you are talking politics, politics is about numbers, and numbers do not lie. And that's why when you sit to negotiate, and I know you've read autobiographies by politicians, you've seen they sit down and agree, and then you say, these are the number of votes that I have. This is what I come with.
I will
because if it's good, whether you will have or you have, it's semantics.
Political optimism.
You must have a base that is tangible and people can work with. If you don't have that, there is no way Matiangi will come and negotiate with anybody and tell them, I have the Gen Z vote, I have this Jubilee phantom votes. He needs to be serious if he's running for president. If he's not,
right.
It's good to know early.
Thank you for that. Numbers don't lie, indeed, and our numbers online are looking good today. People are watching us on YouTube. TV47 Kenya. Let me sample some of the sentiments there on live chat. Dennis Kamau says, Kibaki wasn't hated in Mount Kenya. He in fact got votes in all counties except Murang'a and Kiambu, which went to Matiba. I don't know which discussion that is. There's one, they're still talking about Raila. Raila is playing with our knowledge. He wants to test litmus paper. He will support Ruto. The game Raila is playing is to take the attention of united opposition and start focusing on him. Sambua Mwero says, we shall vote Matiangi as Kenyans. He remains the best performing CS. Daniel, and that's the only name, politics aside, 2027 Matiangi, the performer, takes it early morning, irrespective of the party, period. Douglas Makori says, did you see Matiangi going to DCI to record statement? That's something else. Okay. Keep sending your comments, and I have one more here. Mukarabati TV. Former Nyeri MP Ngojiru Ambugu says Raila Odinga thrives in ambiguity. His latest remarks keep the 2027 race in suspense. I think that's someone just quoting verbatim the Nyeri Town MP. KPLC, Teres Tep KPLC. Jubilee is just trying to be relevant through Matiangi candidacy. They are looking for one of the popular candidates to revive the party.
So he is popular. Somebody has just told me, Fred.
Yes.
DCP needs to win one by-election. Then we can take them.
Are you fielding any people, any members for, any candidates for the by-elections as Jubilee?
We will announce it on Friday.
Okay, all right.
Everything is on Friday.
Yes, everything is on Friday. Everything.
Okay. All right. And we had a poll. We had a poll online as well, and I'm just trying to look for it. I have it somewhere here. Yes, where we were asking, who do you think is most likely to win Kenya's 2027 presidential election? There was William Ruto, Raila Odinga, Fred Matiangi, and Rigathi Gachagua. And according to this poll, Fred Matiangi is top at 39%.
Thank you very much.
Second is Rigathi Gachagua, 29%. William Ruto comes third. Raila Odinga is fourth. Okay, this is a poll, and it continues online. TV47 Digital, that's our Twitter handle.
Why was I not
X
there?
handle. We will include you, Professor Fred Ogola, on the
No,
next.
by the way, people don't, you just pick the old and the new.
No.
That's why we young people are asking you questions. Why do you disregard us?
I agree with you. I agree with you,
It is, I have said this severally, I'm running Fred.
And
but
we just
you
created a new problem.
it.
We will include you in the next poll, Professor
No,
Fred
it can't
Ogola.
be that some people are never included.
Allow me to acknowledge my panelists this morning, Ngojiru Ambogo, former MP Nyeri Town.
Thank you so much.
Professor Fred Ogola, economics governance expert, and I commit to you that next time we'll include you in our poll.
Yes.
And Joseph Kamau Munyoro, who for the very first time joins our panel, is the MP Kigumo constituency. Karibu sana, and asante sana for your time at TV.
Thank you, Fred.
The headlines this morning.
Please call him president so that you don't forget.
Yeah.
The headlines this morning. Allow me. Playing Ruto is a big deal, and that's the front page of the Standard. The Daily Nation steered clear of politics, a nation in crisis, looking at the health, education, and devolution sectors. But on the corner here, Jubilee makes a highlight on the front page as well. A lot of politics in our dailies this morning. Well, that's where we dock for State of the Nation this morning. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Good morning.
Party leader.